The Daimyo family has returned, y'all, but this time we're starting from the very beginning. The Many Saints of Newark, a Soprano story. It's time to talk about it. Let's go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Klepcx FM, brought to you by wearecritics.com, a place where we talk about movies, television, and pop culture. And if you're into that kind of thing, make sure you hit the subscribe key and that notification bell so you can be up to speed about everything that I talk about here. Now, guys, ladies and gentlemen, The Many Saints of Newark, day-to-day release. It is also in theaters, and it is also available on HBO Max. So you may watch this thing in a theatrical version or out of the comfortability of your own home, courtesy of HBO, Warner. It's here, guys. And what it is, let's talk about what it is. The Many Saints of Newark, for a lot of you probably don't even know, this is based on the HBO series The Sopranos, but it's a prequel story. The original series, which stars James Gandolfini as the lead, Tony Soprano, it ended, I want to say like 2007 around that time, it ended very abruptly, very controversial ending. A lot of people were very disappointed because nothing really happened. It is left to be subjective. It is up to the interpretation of the fan about what has happened to Tony Soprano and the rest of his family while they were sitting in a diner listening to Don't Stop Believing. So HBO said, we'll do you one better. Rather than finishing the story or giving you a conclusion, we're going to go all the way back to the beginning when Tony was a child, starting there and kind of coming forward again. Maybe it'll meet in the middle, maybe it won't. But without further ado, what did I think? Well, before I tell you about what I think, it stars Ray Liotta, Leslie Odom Jr., Corey Stoll, Alessandro Nivola, Michael Gandolfini, of course, the real-life son of James Gandolfini, who steps into the shoes of Tony Soprano as a very young man. And yeah, that's all I need to say about that, guys. So, what did I think about this film, which was directed by Alan Taylor, who was known for Thor: The Dark World, Game of Thrones episodes, and a shit ton of Soprano episodes. He knows the story, guys. He knows these guys well. He knows these characters very well. I thought that this film was very, very, very well executed. Without giving away too much, because a lot of people are asking me a lot of questions who haven't seen it yet, and I don't want to spoil it for you guys because I think that it's worth the watch. It's very slow. It's slow paced. It's only about 2 hours long, but it's very detail oriented. And I got to tell you this, and I have to be very, very, very upfront and honest. If you are not a die-hard Sopranos fan of the series, you may have a hard time keeping up with who's who and what's what. Unless you're going into it blind and you want this to be your very first experience, maybe you won't ask as many questions. But to kind of figure out the family tree dynamic of who's who and who plays what part and who's what, you got to kind of know the characters that you're seeing. Returning characters that I remember seeing from the original show. It is narrated, get this, it is narrated by Christopher. For those of you guys who remember Christopher, Tony's nephew, who is in the original series, I won't tell you anything about him beyond that. Uncle Junior's character is in this. He's played by Corey Stoll, who we all know from Ant-Man. Who else? Big Pussy's in this as well, briefly, but he's in it. Trying to think, who else do I remember seeing in this thing? There were probably a couple of others that I just didn't grab, because there's a lot of characters in this thing, and a lot of it I was trying to remember. I'm like, is this guy new or is he from? But there are a lot of new characters as well. So the pace is great. It is true to the original story. You are getting a very in-depth origin story of Tony and his relationship with his Uncle Dickie, which is Christopher's dad. Christopher's dad, Dickie. I won't get into too many details, but he somehow, some way becomes the boss of the family, kind of. I'll say kind of. And then you just kind of follow, you know, Tony kind of looking up to him as a mentor during the course of this film, in such a bad way. But without giving away too much, because really, if I get too in depth, I'm going to give away the story. And I think this is one of those things that you got to really just kind of dive in, just kind of watch it on your own. Because if I talk too much, I'm going to give you too much. So I'm not going to do that. What I will tell you is this. You're getting a lot of things that will be reminiscence of what you've already known if you are a fan of the show. When we get to the conclusion of this thing, I'm praying that this not only becomes a sequel, I hope that it becomes maybe a mini-series that kind of gives us the early years of this family. Because it's done so well, guys, that I think that when it ends, it's only barely scratching the surface. It's not even, like, the conclusion of this movie isn't the rise of Tony Soprano. No. This is more or less the beginning, the very beginning of Tony Soprano, if you know what I mean. So, without giving away too much, the ending alone had me like, oh, I'm ready for the next episode. And I'm pretty sure that Warner, HBO, they have something up their sleeve. This thing is not going to be a one-off. It is not going to be a one and done. I mean, I know that, you know, box office sales and stream numbers, they all play a part in this. But I'm telling you right now, the way I want to see more. Like, this plays as a very solid intro to a prequel, but the way that it flowed and the way that it left us was like, damn, I could actually come back to this. I could come back to this series like I never left. It's kind of cool. So yeah, guys, that's just briefly my reaction to you know, the Many Saints of Newark. And I don't know what anybody else is saying. I haven't seen many reviews on this thing, but this is just coming from me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was very engaged with, you know, Tony, and his son is great as his dad's character. Like, you would have never thought this guy never acted before. He's doing a damn good job in this thing, and it's kind of cool to see, you know, how everything was just moving around him and how he's kind of like going into his from a boy to a man in this world that he's stuck in, so to speak. John Bernthal is his dad. He plays Johnny Soprano. He's amazing in this as well. There's just so many cool things about this thing that are very reminiscent to the show, and a couple of nods that people say things and you're like, you chuckle because you know what's to come if you are a fan of the show. But if you're not a fan of the show, the joke will go right over your head. But yeah, there are some really cool things in here. I don't want to give away anything, but guys, just I strongly suggest, if you are a huge fan of this, check this thing out. And let's get HBO back on board with this, because they need to bring this thing back, because I think it's time. It's good. It's really good. Yeah, guys, let me know. Have you seen The Many Saints of Newark? What do you think? Are you a fan of Sopranos? Have you never heard of Sopranos? If you think I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, drop a comment below and let's talk about it. And if you agree, please like, comment, share. Make sure you subscribe. And for more movie news, television news, pop culture, and our podcast, Critics Talk, check out wearecritics.com. And I will talk to you all later. Peace.